Yeah. It's that time again, people. It's time to talk some motherfucking movies. I'm feeling it today, man. Yeah. What's going on? What's up? How we feeling out there? How we feeling out there, movie fans, movie lovers, actor and actress lovers? How we feeling out there? Is it time to talk some movie novel ones? Is it time to talk some movies? What's up? What's going on? My name is C.R.O.W.N, and you are tuned in to Novelties Movie Podcast. Welcome. So today is not going to be a loaded episode. Today, I'm kind of going to get straight to the point.
Breaking news.
There will be speculation. There will be analysis. There will be the rounds for the crown, because the rounds for the crown just get stronger. We're getting to the end of the year. So Oscar season is here, and you feel it. You feel it. You feel it with the releases. There's a movie that I'm avoiding like the plague. I'm not going to lie to you. It's called A Marriage Story, starring Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson. I talked about it on a previous podcast, but more than ever, I feel obligated to ignore it because it's more Oscar bait. So look, Disney, they want Oscars if they don't even get the Oscars. And what I mean by that is they have actors that's prominent in Disney movies. You got Scarlett Johansson coming out with Black Widow in I believe it's April of next year. And then you got Adam Driver, who's driving the Star Wars franchise. And if they win Oscars, that notoriety will carry over to the Disney projects. It's going to happen. So in a lot of ways, they do have a dog in this fight when it comes down to just actors across the board in whatever projects gaining prominence. It helps Disney. So with that being said, I ignored it, but it's out there, people. If you want to check it out, if you like dramas, if you like movies about divorce, do it. But I'm not going to do it. Special shout out to the t-shirt winner. He didn't give me the go if I should give him a shout out. I don't know if you guys want shout outs, man, because you guys are too shy. I'm going to confess something to y'all because we family at this point. Nobody has used my emails. Oh. I said I'll come up with an email, let people come to me with their takes and see what happens. I'm trying to bait you guys and it's not working. So I got to get inventive and try to bait you again. But congratulations to the t-shirt winner. I will be announcing the next t-shirt contest on the podcast. I usually do it on Facebook, but again, I always complain about Facebook's algorithms. They bury a lot of stuff like mine's where if I'm not paying, it might as well be spam, and they bury it because they don't want anybody doing what I'm doing, trying to promote a product to their friends. It's apparently annoying. It's probably annoying. Probably annoy people. Whatever. But so yeah, I will be announcing that, and I will be giving a new code word for the next one. I really liked the way I did it. I really liked guessing the gross for the weekend numbers for Knives Out. Now, this was a very tough one because they released this one moderately early. They released it on a Wednesday to get ahead of the holiday rush. So you had a 5-day opening weekend. So they came out the gate with 70 million. Jesus. So they blasted through projections, 50 million over, and I had some guesses that I thought were out of this world, and hey, that's the guess that won this thing. And so congratulations to him. Thank you all for supporting. If you want the t-shirt, they will be on sale soon. I'm looking into the best avenues to get these shirts to you because a lot of people, they don't care about the contest. They just want to buy the damn thing. So I'm trying to think of different merchandising that I can give away on the podcast because I still want to give stuff away to you. I still want some type of competition for my supporters just to make it interesting, just to make it fun. But yeah, that's out the way, right? Now, there's no front page. I said that I would get rid of fake news, and I'm getting rid of fake news. But what I want to do is I want to summarize some stuff for you, and I want to give you what I like to call a hot take. Now, the thing about the hot takes is, if you can prove to me that my hot take is completely asinine, well, that will give you a shoe-in for the next t-shirt giveaway. If you want to rebuke my hot take, you hit me up at letstalkmovies216@gmail.com. That's right, and I'm still baiting your ass Or you can hit me up on Facebook. You can hit me up on Twitter. You can hit me up on Instagram, Novelty Movies or Novelty Entertainment. It's all kind of handles. I kind of got to get it together, but you can find me if you try. Trust me, Novelty. Even though Novelty turned out to be kind of a cheap marketing ploy. I'm seeing it in a lot. I'm seeing it on cafes and tea shops and T-shirts and book novels. Apparently, Novelty is a little easy to play on. So that's my bad. But I really thought it was creative before I made it. You're supposed to go through this whole analysis where you test, your brand. But I didn't feel like it because I was like, but it's a movie podcast. Nobody's doing that. So that's how that goes. But so yeah. You ready for some hot takes? You ain't ready, but I'm going to do it anyway. Let's do it. First up, Tom Holland admits in an interview on Jimmy Kimmel that he, in a drunken phone call, inspired the Spider-Man returning to the MCU. Now, we all know that this is fluff. This is complete BS. It had nothing to do with the fact that Tom Holland wanted to, be the driving force to make this happen again. I think he was just in his emotions. He said that he actually he told Bob Iger that he wanted to thank him. So he got his email and he gave him his information through email. And then while he was getting drunk at a bar, Bob Iger calls him. And at that point he gets comfortable talking to Bob Iger, and in his drunken state he goes on a tangent about how much the MCU needs Spider-Man and how it can work. So now people are like acting like Tom Holland's, the hero of the story. This is my hot take. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Nothing Tom Holland did at all had anything to do with the MCU and the Spider-Man and Sony coming up with a deal to make Spider-Man in the MCU again, okay? It was just too much money on the table, no matter how you flip it. No matter how you flip it, both sides knew it. What you had was a game of what do they call it? I don't know, it was like Texas Hold'em. I don't know what they call it, the game where it's like two people bluffing. I don't know, but it's just two people bluffing. And, both sides was like, okay, and they both caved kind of at the same time because they both knew that it was idiocy to not make this work. So my hot take is that this doesn't matter and it's all about the money. The next story is you got original stars, big name stars that could be coming back for the reboot of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. I loved Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. And the more I love something, the more terrified of a reboot I am. So my hot take is, who gives a shit? I don't give a shit about who's coming back for this reboot because it's not going to be good. We don't need reboots. We don't. We're going to see if Hollywood is going to figure this out. Because Hollywood is smart as a machine. It's constantly moving. It's constantly thinking. So we're going to see if with this new Ghostbusters, because they're going to kind of do a soft reboot on it again. They're going to bring in somebody you can't resist in Paul Rudd, and they're going to try this thing again, seeing that they learned the mistakes from the original reboot from, I think, 2 years ago. But reboots don't work, people. They don't work. They never have. And a part of me think they never will. Because sometimes you get a really shitty premise, but it works because it's marketed right, and that generation accepts it as its own. But that doesn't happen for the next generation or the next generation after that. Hollywood is so afraid to not make money that they would rather try to go the safe route in a reboot. Well, have you seen Charlie's Angels? So my hot take about this is reboots don't work. They don't work. They have never shown that they can work. I want to say that Godzilla is one of the reboots that work. Even King Kong is one of the reboots that worked. But they kind of weren't reboots. They were soft sequels. If that's not a thing, I made it up right here on the Novelties on Novelties Movie Podcast. I made it up, but they don't work. So we're gonna see it fail again, and why not? Sometimes Hollywood deserves its lickings, doesn't it? And the next up on hot takes is you got the studios who produced Alita Battle Angel saying, hey, if you want Alita Battle Angel 2, then you need to talk to Disney, sign a petition. Now, that petition already has, I think, 100,000 signatures, which is great. And I think that this was just interesting to talk about, just to put on the table. Since when have movie studios started to follow the trend of allowing the audience to literally tell them what to make? I mean, we already seen this happen with the Sonic thing. It cost the movie, I believe, $35 million to re-render Sonic. And just because a couple of fans had a bitch fit. Now, this is my thing. The new Sonic does look better, but at the same time, how is that going to affect the casual fans that movies need? Movies don't get greenlit with the hope that 100% of the fans for that will turn out. You can't do that. You need to reboot what has mass appeal. What can win over the general audience? What can win over new fans? Sonic could do that. I think they did that in the correct way. So with that being said, Alita Battle Angel was like cool. It was cool, you know, but Alita Battle Angel kind of fell apart in the third act. Here I go talking the nerdy movie shit. I give you that, but this movie was really good. It was really good. I mean, just fascinating, just kept you in. But by the third act, it just got cartoonishly all over the place. Just all over the place. And it's just like, well, why do I need a sequel? Are you going to avoid, the collapse? And they set up for a sequel. You had somebody like Edward Norton, who was a reveal. He was never prominent in the movie, but at the end of the movie, they teased it like, oh, that's Edward Norton. Like this is going to be a huge villain. And then the movie went off. So right then we see that, they wanted a part 2. But the studios don't want to release it because these movies are crazy expensive, and Lita disappointed. And it's just amazing because I don't think it should have disappointed, because even though it fell apart in the third act, even though it's not a perfect movie and it's not a great movie, it's cool. And I would hear arguments that it's good. It was an experience to watch in theaters. It was kind of amazing. And I think that strength alone should get this thing easily greenlit by Disney. But Disney is very hesitant and they need a push. And I think it's interesting. So my hot take is anime movies are cursed. Anime movies just might be cursed. Anime really may be for a specific type of archetype. Like it might be for a very specific demographic. And I think that's amazing because a lot of stuff, especially action movie-based stuff, transfer across a bunch of demographics, But they're not making that happen. That didn't happen for Battle Angel, and it's not happening for any of them. It's just amazing to me. Like, I'm pretty sure Gundam Wing, if they ever made a movie about that, I don't think they would because that fan base is bonkers. But if they ever made a Gundam Wing movie, I'm pretty sure it won't be received well. So these anime movies, no matter how good the source material is, they just can't seem to survive themselves. And that is my hot take. Anime movies just can't succeed. But that's it for that. I'm not gonna oversell you here. There's not a lot going on in the movie theater. Just a bunch of rumors. Again, this is Oscar season, baby. It's not really a lot going on. Not a lot of major productions, and it's honestly approaching the dead season for Hollywood anyway when it comes down to productions. But of course, there's always news about people being rumored to be here and be there. But I'm not gonna bore you because you trust me. So let's get to the trailer part. The trailer part is where I analyze the hottest trailers. Not that many trailers this time. Yippee! The hottest trailers that's coming out. See where we stand with the trailers. And I do that with a ranking system. That system ranking 1 through 3. 1, get the maintenance man in here. This thing is a mess. 2, it's all right. You can live here, but it can use some work. And 3, oh my God, this trailer's beautiful. I love it. Let's go across the country. Let's never leave this damn thing. So let's see where they land. So I only have 3 trailers on here. I will keep it a buck with you, but I didn't have a choice. So what I figured is that I will kind of mix the movie news I will kind of mix some front page and trailer park and kind of go into these trailers in depth because all these trailers are massive. I'm kind of surprised that they dropped around the same time because they will be dropping at, different months in 2020. So, but they did drop these trailers around the same time, and the buzz is tremendous. These are all highly anticipated movies, and of course, 2 of these releases are Disney releases. But let's get to the non-Disney release. Let's get to Bond 25, No Time to Die. So, I gotta kind of try to talk about this without just completely fanboying out. I am a James Bond fan. Now, I am not I'm not the James Bond fan that some people are. I admit. I'm one of those, 80s babies kind of James Bond fans. I became a fan with the Pierce Bondsman movies that were corny as shit, but for their time, they were great. And the video games, of course, GoldenEye, these things just had me 007 lover. And then they rebooted it with Daniel Craig. Daniel Craig was actually a controversial James Bond. But to me, he was the perfect James Bond. I can't believe that happened 13 years ago. Casino Royale came out 13 years ago. Insane. But I instantly gravitated to him as 007. And according to the source material, according to the novels, this is who he should have been. It shouldn't have been the suave Pierce Bondsman who made it work, but this is the role for Daniel Craig. Now, it's sad because this is pretty much the end. Daniel Craig is just fucking tired of doing James Bond movies. So I'm pretty sure that after this one, he'll have one more. So you will be on the edge of your seat for this one because you're not sure if the man is going to die or not, because he could die in this one and then he can be in the next one to honor his contract, but he can be in flashbacks or he can be in somebody's memory or he could be a ghost. You fucking never know. I would love to see James Bond ghost. I would pay to see the ghost of James Bond any day. But so the new movie is finally coming. They did their thing, man. I was impressed. I'm really trying not to geek out, but I was really impressed by so many aspects of this trailer. So the best thing about James Bond movies, the thing that keeps them from reaching a certain floor, that they're never bad, because you could argue that Spectre was bad and you can argue that Quantum of Solace was bad, but the action in both of those movies were still great. They were still fun to watch. So they hit that marker off top. They made sure that the action was grade A. So with that being said, I was won over. But they included legacy in this one. They included more story, more things from James Bond's past in this one. And it's just raising the stakes in so many ways. They also introduced James Bond predecessor. I'm sorry, I don't know her name, but we all know that names is not important on this show. But we got a black female James Bond, and I say that very sexistly. We got a black female James Bond, and she took his place for a while. As 007, and because that happened and then he returned, it doesn't mean that it's not still happening. She is probably going to take over after Daniel Craig steps down and carry the mantle of James Bond. With the movement, with the female empowerment movement that's going on in Hollywood, this makes all the sense in the world. This is actually a really smart move on Universal's part to be one of the studios to do that. It's one of the biggest studios in Hollywood, so of course they put their best foot forward in supporting a black female James Bond. But honestly, they might just be trying to condition us a little bit, because in my mind, I'm like, I don't want to see a black James Bond. I'm black. I can say this. I don't want to see a black James Bond. I like James Bond as a white James Bond. Let's just, if you want to do another 007, fine, but just don't have him be James Bond. So with that being said, they could be trying to condition us to Idris Elba. Conditioning is real, people. They just have been floating this rumor of him being... They did the same thing for the Rock with Black Adam. Just floating this rumor of him being 007 forever. And it won't go away. And when that happens, that means somebody's behind the scenes doing their, doing their negotiations. So I'm rooting against it. I don't want to see Idris Elba as James Bond. And for that matter, I don't want to see, what's the dude's name? I don't want to see Michael B. Jordan play Superman. I don't want to see that either. we could be seeing James Bond set up for the next phase because they want to reboot the franchise. And again, it's going to be a soft reboot because it's going to be in the same universe, produced by the same studio. It's still going to be James Bond. But at the same time, it's not. It's going to be a completely different thing. Sorry to contradict myself, but it really is. But hey, if you haven't checked out this trailer, it doesn't come out for a while. But if you haven't checked out this trailer, check it out. These things look incredible. It looks like the acting will be off the charts. They have some of my favorite actors in this joint. I can't wait. Bond 25 is coming. The trailer gets a 3. The cinematography, the cinematography is there again. It's funny, the director that's on here, I'm always nervous about stuff like this. The director is on here, was the third director on here. They had a lot of trouble with this script. 2 directors left, had creative differences, and a third director was brought in. And we'll see if he could salvage this project. I'm excited to see it. Again, it looks incredible. If you are not into spy genres, I challenge you to watch Casino Royale and tell me you didn't enjoy it. I challenge you, man. It's good, and it's not like a lot of spy movies. I promise you, it's like nothing you ever seen. That and Skyfall, man, it's incredible movies. It's incredible. Next up on the trailer park is Black Widow. That's right, Disney's Black Widow is finished in production. It is on its way to the big screen. So I'm excited about this. I have always been a fan of MCU's portrayal of Black Widow. We don't know a lot about Black Widow. Maybe there's some Black Widow fans out there somewhere, but I became a fan of her through the MCU. I'm not going to lie about that. I think that Scarlett Johansson was born for this role. She's just such an incredible actor. It's nothing she really can't do. There's a movie coming out called Bombshell, and it just got some of the best actors acting right now, and I was so surprised that Scarlett Johansson didn't show up in that trailer. But Scarlett Johansson has a way about really being her own energy, her own thing. Like she's always, leading in very, very different projects, So we'll see if she'll make it work. I think that she will. So we got David Harbour, the cop from Stranger Things, and the guy from the Hellboy reboot that will probably go to hell from this point on. I don't think we're going to be seeing any more Hellboy. But this guy is clearly showing that he's on another level. He's, again, playing a character actor. If you don't know what I mean when I say a character actor is Johnny Depp. The character actor is goddamn, Gary Oldman. Jesus, I didn't want to not say his name because Gary Oldman is one of the greatest character actors ever. Jim Carrey. These are actors who can play an insane range. He's trying to show that he's that. We'll see if he can pull it off. I'm not saying that he is yet. I got a lot to see. I liked him as Hellboy. I don't think he was the problem in Hellboy, but we'll see. I got a good feeling about him. Of course, this is directed by a director who has no experience in superhero films. She is actually kind of a prodigy. She is, I shouldn't say a prodigy. She is kind of, she came up on a film festival scene, producing incredible shorts. And then she came out with her first feature film. And, that made a lot of noise in the Oscar circuits, but it didn't even get to the nominations, but it got to the cut before. And this is a big deal because she's making movies out of Australia. When you can reach like that from Australia, it's impressive. So I say that to say that's probably a good thing for Black Widow, because when you look across the board, directors who are known for something else and they try something else, it kind of works out. The director from Joker is a comedy director, and he excelled. Jordan Peele came from comedy. He went to horror and he excelled. So this could work. Black Widow could be one of the best Marvel movies in that year, and maybe the best Marvel movie we've seen in a while. That was just a shot at in game. I'm not gonna lie. Next up on the trailer park. Oh shit, man! I always forget that. Black Widow, of course, gets a 3. Gets a 3. No question. But next up on the trailer park is Mulan. So Mulan is the Disney adaptation of the Disney cartoon of the same name. This thing looks incredible, of course. Let's see how closely they stick to the source material though. I'm really interested to see if they do that. I would love if they brought in more from that time period into this movie to try to make it more interesting. I think that'd be cool. But we never know. Honestly, y'all, I kind of don't give a shit about Milan. I kind of don't. I'm not even kind of looking forward to it, honestly. Now, this is my thing, though, right? Milan is good, but Milan had great songs. They had great song numbers. I'm nervous to see if they're going to be able to pull off these song numbers, y'all. I'm nervous. I don't even want to say why, because I don't want to get in trouble. From what I hear, I say controversial stuff on my podcast sometimes, but I have no faith that the singing in this movie is going to be as encapsulating as it was in the cartoon. Jet Li is going to be in this movie. You want to see Jet Li sing? You fucking kidding me? I don't want to see Jet Li sing. But he might throw a roundhouse. I'm for that too. This trailer gets a 3. All these trailers look great. But they're colossal movies. These movies are events. And I'm excited about them. Not Milan, but I'm excited about them. You see, I didn't talk much about Milan because you know, I mean, it's cool. It's cool that that Disney took them so serious. It was a whole campaign to Disney to not whitewash Milan. If you don't know what whitewashing is, if you check out Ghost in the Shell, or you take an Asian anime, I'm just gonna say anime. We all know that animes is Japanese, right? But you take a Japanese anime, see that kind of feels redundant. So you take an anime and you just put a white person in the role of an Asian. You take Dragon Ball Z and you have white people in it, and they call it whitewashing. It doesn't bother me unless they disrespect the source material. But it was some of that going on too. And of course, that kind of has to happen in order to make movies work. You kind of have to take some liberties with the source material, and it's risky. But they went straight to Disney and they was like, look, none of that. Disney was like, all right, cool. So Disney sent out a cast and crew to 5 continents. To 5 continents. They auditioned almost 1,000 actresses to be Mulan. So not only did they listen to the fans, they obsessed over the fans. And I think it's fascinating when movies do this. So they obsessed over the fans. And they really wanted to get everything perfect. And then after that, they stuck to it. They have a whole Asian cast. So this is just nothing less than fascinating. I really think that Disney might have overplayed their hand. Look, get some good singers in there, man. You know, do something, get creative. We'll see, though. They could surprise me. I could be completely wrong. I'm wrong. Sometimes I'm wrong. I got to eat my words in this next segment a lot. I ain't going to lie about that. I ain't going to lie. But I'm excited. 2020 is shaping up to be a much better year than 2019. It really is. I'm excited for it. I am not a big fan of 2019's movies. I'm not. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll see what happens with January. I'm actually seeing some promising horror movies coming up for January. So let's see. Let's see, man. Let's see. But with that being said, with all of that being said, and a very early showing, we are bracing for the rounds for the crown. The rounds for the crown is where I rank the movies in a systematic order, place them in seating, and I have them battle to see who is the top movie. Not top movie. That's a mistake. Who is the crown champion again? The crown champion of this week is Ford versus Ferrari, because, oh my God, what an incredible movie. It has some crazy competition again. Now, you're probably seeing a trend. If I say something from the rounds for the crown has crazy competition, it more than likely has crazy competition and is more than likely gonna lose. We'll see. I don't know until I talk about these things. So let's get into it. Let's bring out the contenders. The number 1 seed is Knives Out. The number 2 seed is Ford versus Ferrari. The number 3 seed is Queen and Slim. Number 4 seed is The Irishman. The number 5 seed is Dark Waters. The number 6 seed is A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. The number 7 seed is Joker. And the number 8 seed is 21 Bridges. I try to rate these things in the order of relevance and sometimes success. So let's get into it. So the first matchup in the rounds for the crown is Knives Out versus 21 Bridges. This is a blowout of blowouts. Look, you have a superior storytelling method. You have incredible acting across the board. You have incredible cinematography. Everything looks and feel great. You have incredible staging. You have an incredible script. And then you have the dog shit mess that is 21 Bridges. This isn't even close, people. I know that I'm hard on movies sometimes, but I am not being hard on 21 Bridges. If you can walk away from 21 Bridges feeling like you've seen a cohesive story, well, you fooled me. And honestly, I would love to take lessons from you, but get you in front of a chalkboard and really show me what the hell I missed. Because, oh my God, 21 Bridges is a mess. And if you haven't listened to my previous Spoiler Room special where I spoiler room the hell out on movies like 21 Bridges, check it out and see just why I show so much disrespect towards it. And you know it hurt because Cleveland guys produced this movie. It hurt. The next matchup is Ford versus Ferrari versus Joker. Now, this is not going to be a big thing because I had Ford versus Ferrari beat Joker last week. I'm not going to betray that. I'm not going to betray that. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and give Ford versus Ferrari the easy pass, but it is not indicative of Joker's quality. Joker is a good movie, and you're going to see once the Oscar buzz picks up. But for now, it's going down on the rounds for the crown. Soon it'll be out of the rankings, but it's just too damn good. It's just too culturally impactful to go away. But Ford versus Ferrari, the crown champion, will move on. The next matchup in the first round of the rounds for the crown is Queen and Slim versus A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. So Queen and Slim will also be in a spoiler room coming up really soon. So Queen and Slim is a very, very interesting movie. So what you have in Queen and Slim is you have a very, very good artist. You have a very, very good artist
really?
Who makes a very, very average script. And her artistry cannot help save her script. She just can't do it. That's constantly what's happening. When you come from music videos, you do have a certain flair for the dramatics. You do have a certain discipline in the craft of filmmaking. You understand staging. You understand acting cues on when your character needs to portray a certain thing. So you'll be able to do certain things outside of the narrative, like play music and play voice tracks from different times in a movie, where you can really just enjoy a visual and a audio, two different visual audio tracks together to kind of create a mood. That is a skill. It's not easy. I respect this director to her core. But I hate this script. Oh, I hate this script. This script was a mess. I want to talk about it in detail in the spoiler room, like I always do. I can't wait. I themed this podcast after it because I have so much to say about this movie. And I think it's important because as a Black man, you're often pressured into seeing Black productions a certain way. And I'm really hard on them. And I really hope that I can really get in depth into this movie and show like why movies like this can do more harm than good. But with that being said, it's not half the narrative that A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood is. A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood is a much more honest effort, and it's a much more humble effort. It's just appealing straight to the ethos. It's not trying to say so many messages that it starts mumbling. That's what happened with Queen and Slim, and that's why it's losing in the first round to A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. The final matchup in the first round is The Irishman versus Dark Waters. So this is the thing. Everybody's ranting and raving about The Irishman. Martin Scorsese, in a lot of ways, is a made man in Hollywood. He's made some of the best movies that we've ever seen. When you do that, you have a certain floor as a director. I feel the same thing happened with Chris Nolan. I think that he will only get so much negative reviews about his projects because of what he's done in Hollywood. People have seen just how good Christopher Nolan can be. I think the same thing happened with Martin Scorsese. He has a lot of clout. He has a lot of friends. I'm even nervous about being critical of this movie because that's how powerful of a force that he is in Hollywood. Martin Scorsese is somebody that film students study. But with that being said, I think that Martin Scorsese felt like he owed this movie to somebody. It kind of feels like that in a lot of ways. So there's a lot of mistruths. We don't know how close to this actual story that this is. This story came from a book from the main character of the movie. The main character, the real one, he wrote a book about the main character wrote a book about his life working for essentially the mob and working for the union, kind of at the same time. The problem with this thing is, though, it moves way too fast. This movie is 3.5 hours long. I should not be saying that anything is moving too fast, but when it comes down to his character development, it moves really, really fast. So with that being said, you kind of don't understand why anything is happening. And then they develop the wrong people. So when that happens, you got these moments, you got this tension going on. And you got scenes that's like, little small misunderstandings and confrontations that's changing the dynamic of the movie. And you don't completely understand it. What this movie does, though, is it's a masterpiece because you have masterclass acting, masterclass filmmaking with an average script. So, an average film editing. So it pulls it back. Now, again, you can go ask anybody. Nobody's going to tell you what I'm telling you. But when you watch it and something's missing, I'm trying to kind of fill that void for you. So with that being said, I think that Irishman is definitely worth watching for film students. But if you really want to see a gangster movie, you want to see some gangster shit, just watch Peaky Blinders. Just watch Peaky Blinders. They kind of know what they're doing. They got more time. They're not trying to show so much into a feature length. It's better. But Irishman's not bad. It's not a bad movie. But I'm never watching it again. Honestly, I'd punish somebody. I'd be like, watch The Irishman, you mother. And it's going against Dark Waters, the new drama starring Mark Ruffalo and Anne Hathaway. I think that this is a good movie. You kind of can't lose with movies like this because it's educational. When you're being educated, it's a secret weapon. There's nothing you can really do about it. There's nothing you can really do about it. You can pretend like you're bored or the movie is starting to slow down, but honestly, you can't wait to see how it ended. And it's educational because it's based on a true story. But the drama's there, the tension there. And the thing about this movie is it still hits home. A lot of this stuff is not resolved. DuPont is the company that's in question in this movie, and they are still producing stuff. They're still on grocery store shelves. People in these lawsuits in the movie are still around. This is something that's happening. This is something that would be an incredible documentary. This would be a documentary that really shake up film festival and stuff like that. But it found a writer to make it into a script and make it into a good movie. But because of the relevance of The Irishman, and because The Irishman is a masterpiece in a lot of ways, and sadly, I think that The Irishman will be more impactful overall. So right now, it sucks because I think that Dark Waters is more enjoyable than The Irishman, but at the same time, The Irishman's gonna have to win just because it's prettier. We on to the second round and the rounds for the crown. The next up is Knives Out versus Ford versus Ferrari, and with a matchup, these are two Oscar contenders. They will be fighting for supremacy when it comes down to the Best Picture award. These are two incredible movies. And I doubted them both. I doubted them both. I'll tell you why I doubted them both. I doubted Knives Out because I doubted that they could make this genre work. I'm like, it's just no way you're going to make this interesting. It's always just so much going on that you become disinterested. And then they're trying to trick you the whole time that by the time the ending come, it's like, okay, I'm not satisfied because why in the hell would it ever happen that way? Or why would it be something that dumb or that silly and blah, blah, blah. So I'm just like, it's probably going to be bad, and it's probably going to get destroyed on word of mouth, because you got all of these actors and actresses that people are huge fans of, and they're going to want to know, how was that Knives Out movie? And people are going to be like, it was kind of dumb. I really thought that it wouldn't be able to survive the script. Turns out the script was magnificent. Turns out that the script was incredible. Turns out that the actors, they did exactly what they were supposed to do. They not only got people to the theaters, and it's 4-day weekend, it made $70 million, but they not only got people to the theater, but they played their roles perfectly. It was incredible. I thought that this was amazing, because the director of The Last Jedi, the horrible, horrible sequel to The Force Awakens that came out, last year? Was it last year? Or was it 2 years ago? 2 years ago. Yeah, 2 years ago. That came out 2 years ago. And I was like, man, this dude, what is he doing? But this is what happens. I just explained this, man. A director can go from a sci-fi space odyssey to a murder mystery whodunit and excel. He excelled. He didn't miss a beat in this movie. This is one of the best movies of the year. It's not even close. It is a shoe-in for Best Picture. Best Picture is going to be the best picture in a while. A lot of people hated the Best Picture where it just happened to, and I can't remember. The Green Book. Everybody hated the Best Picture that was Green Book. I thought Green Book was the Best Picture. The competition was just bad last year. In this year's Oscar contention, Green Book wouldn't stand out. It would be a completely different thing for Green Book. Sometimes timing is everything. And that's what happened with Green Book. But with this one, the categories are loaded, and Knives Out is a big reason why. I will be talking about that in the spoiler room as well, and I can't wait. Ford versus Ferrari, the same thing. I've already talked about this in the spoiler review. I had a spoiler review about it. I had it in previous rounds for the Crown. I talked about this ad nauseum. If you want to know about it, then go back to those. You'll enjoy them, because, I'm talking my shit. But yeah, this Ford versus Ferrari, it's incredible. So Ford versus Ferrari is going to lose to Knives Out. But this is one of those things where it's not about quality here. Knives Out is just reinvigorated a genre. It put director Rian Johnson, that we all had doubts about, that we didn't believe in. It put him back on the map, and showed that he's a real director. He knows what he's doing. It showed us that Chris Evans can do something outside of Captain America. It showed us that, Daniel Craig is a transcendent actor. It showed us what a good script is. It showed us what great storytelling is. It showed us what great editing is. It showed us everything that we've been needing to see. Parts of Hollywood, parts of filmmaking that we thought were dying are still around, and we can still make a good mystery movie. So with that being said, just as a thank you alone, Knives Out wins over Ford versus Ferrari, the crowned champion.
Really?
Next up is A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood versus The Irishman. So this is my thing. Again, Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood is a humble effort. It's not trying to do too much. The Irishman didn't know what it wanted to do. It didn't know if it wanted to tell you a lesson about family, loyalty, culture, tradition. It didn't know. If it wanted all these things, that's fine. But then when you start to, let that interfere with the story, where it's just so much going on. He did this thing in a movie where every time he'd show mobsters, and he'd show how they died. And it was kind of funny, because, trying to really show how dangerous that life is. But at the same time, it just constantly lost me, and it lost itself. And by the time, I'm telling you, this movie is just all over the place. And it doesn't really give you anything. I'm not really sure what to take from it. If Martin Scorsese didn't lose his damn mind and make this thing 3.5 hours, I would watch it again to try to see what I'm missing. I've watched analysis videos. I've watched, I've done my homework. I've watched all kinds of things, but nothing is helping me grasp a message out of this thing that makes it worth the effort. with that being said, The Irishman is losing to A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, another Oscar contender for Best Picture. And yeah, and I'm saying these, I'm predicting this stuff. Don't think that I'm saying that these things are nominated for Oscars, but I'm willing to bet a lot that Knives Out, Ford versus Ferrari, and A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood are all nominated for Best Picture. They may nominate Irishman for Best Picture, but that's because Martin Scorsese is a god in Hollywood. Next up is Knives Out in the final round. The final round for the crown. Next up is Knives Out versus A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. And this is great because I feel like this is the same thing as Ford versus Ferrari. These are two great movies. But I feel good in the fact that Knives Out is just flat out better than A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Even though A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood gets so much right, it's still not the thrill that Knives Out is. Knives Out is a thrill. It's a thrill ride. It's fun. You're kind of hypnotized by the whole thing. And wow, A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood takes you everywhere on an emotional range. It's never just a thrill ride. So when you got two good movies that's kind of equal in their execution, in their expertise, you kind of have to give it to, the animalistic part in you now. It's just like, I had more fun. So with that being said, Knives Out is the winner and the new rounds for the crown champ. It had to happen. It had to happen. When I was watching Knives Out, I was like, it's probably going to win. The timing couldn't be better either. I mean, to drop it when they dropped it, to drop it between The Irishman and to drop it between Ford versus Ferrari and then before Star Wars, it's just perfect. Perfect timing for a perfect movie. If you think that you might want to see Knives Out, I suggest you drop everything and you go check out Knives Out. It was a good one. I really enjoyed it. Check out these trailers I talked about. I don't know if you check out the trailers I talk about, but if you're not doing nothing, or you just, you're doing something crazy where you need some white noise and you happen to hear me talk about a trailer, check out these trailers. Hot Take will be expanded on some more because I had fun with it. We'll be bringing it again. We about to get into the spoiler room, people. When I'm saying bye to y'all, I'm saying hi to some of y'all, because we about to talk some movies, baby, and we're gonna do it spoiler heavy. So hopefully you seen The Irishman, hopefully you seen Queen and Slim, and hopefully you seen Knives Out, because I'm about to get into it. Hey, I love talking movies with y'all. All right, I love talking movies with y'all. Sometimes I want to just do the spoiler room, but I'm not just gonna do that. I want to entertain you as much as I can. Tune in to the spoiler room if you want to see some spoilers. I think I want to kind of do a different format this time for the people who don't see these movies. See if I can kind of convince you to see it before I go into the spoiler review. Let's see if I can do it. See if I can reinvent the spoiler room. All right, y'all, man. Y'all love yourselves, love each other, love movies. And until we meet again, this is the Novelty Podcast. Let's talk movies. What up, y'all? So thank you for joining me in the spoiler room. I'm going to try to do something a little different. I am going to start giving myself 2 minutes to talk to you about these movies spoiler free, to try to see if I can convince you, if I can make these things interesting enough for you to be like, you know what, maybe I will watch it, or maybe I can skip forward to when he's talking about the next thing. So that's what I'm going to try to do. So first up, I want to talk about Queen and Slim. I can't wait. I was dying to talk about this movie. I'm going to try to do this without being mean. It's really hard. It's really hard to talk about projects like this without being mean because they're successful. Queen and Slim, by getting some type of critical renown, makes it successful. I don't think that it made that much money. The last time I looked, they were $3 million in the hole. So they're probably $1 million over. But again, I said it before, if you don't double your production budget, then you failed as a movie. And you essentially lost the studio money, because not only did the money have to pay for the production, but they got to pay for marketing. They got to pay for advertising. They got to pay for all these things. So if they're not doubling things, then you're in trouble. And it sucks because they shot this movie in Cleveland. Well, they shot a lot of it in Cleveland, and we need movies to be successful. But I wish this wasn't it. We got Cherry coming. Cherry is a Russo brother production starring Tom Holland, who spent a lot of time in Cleveland and is now saying that he's a Browns fan and he better stop playing with me. He gonna fuck around and be my favorite actor in this bitch. But let's get into this movie. All right, the 2 minutes, the clock is on. Let's get into Queen and Slin. So I need to pull up the page for Queen. My bad, y'all. I'll probably cut this down because it's just god awful. Or maybe you like it raw. maybe maybe you like it raw, you know? Because this is raw. This is raw and uncut. So yeah, this thing, oh wow, this thing just the ratings didn't budge. I thought they would go down. No more people who seen this shit. Maybe that many people didn't see it. So you got Jodie Turner. Oh, whoa. You got Jodie Turner Smith. Great acting. Of course, you got Daniel Kaluuya. Great acting. Is his name Flea? What in the hell? And you got the director in this joint, who I'm really on the fence about. So the director and the writers are the things that killed this project overall. Now, I say that it killed it in the way that makes it not what it could have been. So based on the hands that this was in, based on the artistic touch that was in here, this thing could have been a masterpiece, and it could have been something that could have been legendary. But the whole message was just awful. The 2 minutes have been up. We about to get into spoilers in no time, because this is essentially the message, right? The message is Black love gets you murals. No, but the message is basically, I don't know. So they're trying to tell a lot of messages in this one. So I'm going to try to summarize this movie. Hopefully I can hit on some of the messages as I'm summarizing it. And I'll try to gloss over it because I don't want to spend all day talking about this movie, even though it is my headliner. Let me get into it. So these two people, they meet at a Cleveland diner, and it's actually a Cleveland diner. What? So, so they do this thing, and this is where they kind of start fucking up their movie. They start fucking up their movie in the opening scene when they're establishing these people. So you got Queen or whatever, and I still don't know if that's her name. You got Queen, and she's established that she's very socially distant. She's very antisocial, and she's a lawyer, and she's compassionate about people on death row. He is just a passive dude. He's just passive. He's just like, whatever. I'm just living life. I don't care. I just like my family. I'm pretty regular. I don't stand for anything. Just me. So so now you set the table for this dynamic to start unfolding. So she's the worst person ever. She just uses him to, get her mind off stuff. And then, the cop, who I guess is destiny, because if the cop didn't intervene, these two wouldn't have fell in love. So he pulls him over, and of course he's an asshole. Now, before I tried to predict this movie, and I almost predicted it, but I missed some stuff. But I tried to predict this movie, and I was saying like, oh, of course the cop is going to be a racist asshole, blah blah blah. Now the cop didn't imply he was racist, but apparently he was. He harasses him they did some lazy ass writing, and he's like, oh, I'm cold, can you hurry up? And this prompts the cop to want to arrest him. It's like he has no case to arrest this dude. Like, what are you gonna say? So, with that being said, she gets out the car. She escalates the situation. He shoots her in the leg for some reason because she decides to reach for her cell phone. And honestly, reaching for your cell phone and get you shot in the chest or the head at that range. But anyway, so he instinctively protects her. Blah, blah. Now, this is where the movie goes wrong, because they instantly throw out the whole scene they established at the end. They throw it out. You established that she's a lawyer and she believes in fighting for men who gets the death penalty. So in an instance, she becomes he becomes the aggressor and the hero, and she becomes the wounded victim. Why did you even establish that they were any of those things at the beginning of the movie? You established that what they could have did is they could have knocked out the cop or something, or blah blah blah, or even not even knock out the cop. They could have kept the scene how it was, where he killed the cop, and they could have went on the run for a minute, not that long, especially in movie time, maybe 15 minutes, and got caught. And she was acquitted, and she decided to be his lawyer. And then we do flashbacks of the lessons that they had from when they was on the run that made them fall in love. And now we have a much richer story. But what they do? They tried to present like these motherfuckers was Bonnie and Clyde. They were not Bonnie and Clyde. They were just people who were moderately dumb. So she's like, I gotta go to my uncle's house until further notice. She had no plan. He was like, I want to go home, and actually, in a hissy fit, went home. Couldn't have went home. So they go on a run. So actually, going on a run was probably the best thing. That was a case that he wasn't gonna beat. She would have been fine, but it was a case that he wasn't gonna beat, and that was probably the best move. But they go on a run, and now magic starts to happen, right? Now we see that it's not any story here. That's the problem. We immediately see that there's no story. What they do in this movie is they say, this is about getting from point A to point B. But in between point B, you have point A1 and A2 and A3. Now, honestly, it shouldn't be anything complicated about this. The plan that they had should have worked out seamlessly, because for some reason, cops don't set out well, I guess they don't in real life, but everything was working out seamlessly. All right. So they just kept making up drama. They just kept making it up. Like, oh, you need to stay at your auntie house? Well, guess what? I mean, your uncle house? Well, guess what? He was in the war. And in the war, he got trust issues and paranoia. And now he's always fighting with the women that he pimps. And we can't stay here. We're leaving tomorrow. Didn't you just say that he owed you and you needed to be there for a night or two? And she said a night or two without any plan. Like, we're not seeing these characters grow, develop, be smarter, show us more or anything. But we do learn why she's antisocial or whatever, because, the thing going on with her mom. And that's cool. Like, okay, you gave us something finally. It's not much to his character being developed still. But then, so they keep the car out in public. Oh, guess what? The uncle's, one of his girls is having sex with the cop, and the cop comes to the damn house. Like, what? Like, this is all contrived drama to add to a non-story. So then, they get out scot-free. The uncle's like, hey, magic, here's a car. So they take the car and they go to the next place. And then they go to the next place. So then they go into, the uncle had a friend, right? Of course he did. Bing, bring, magic, a friend. So he has a friend, and they go there, and they immediately get caught. Why? Because the story needs just extra fluff in between the nothingness that this story is. So they go and and they get caught immediately, and they try to use a hiding place and it doesn't work, and blah, blah, blah. So they get flushed out of there in no time for no reason. And again, we get no story, no development. They just waste all of this time for their characters in a story that's already fluff. Before that, I forgot about this scene where they went to the mechanic and they met this kid. More fluff. It's like, what the fuck is this kid in the story for? They meet this kid, and apparently he inspired the kid or whatever. Oh, no. I did it wrong. That happened after these events. No, it didn't. No. This happened. When did they get that car? They got that car after the uncle. The uncle gave him the car, and they went to that place to hide out, and they had to switch cars. Okay. So they went to the uncle's friend place, and then they went to they had all these hiding spaces and blah, blah, blah. I'm showing you this, people, because this is a bunch of non-story happening. So then you got, they're doing nothing, and nothing happens, and they get flushed out, and that's where you see that scene from the trailer where the black cop finds them, right? So when he finds them, we need to throw some more contrived bullshit in there. And he's talking to the cop, and the cop is a racist asshole. And he's like, oh, you know what? You want to be a racist? I'm going to let these black fugitives go. Black power. Like, what the fuck? No, he didn't say that. He just indicated it. And he's like, yeah, got you. Like, bro, that's your job. That would have been good for you. But anyway, I digress. So, they have magic. They magically had a getaway car that they were able to break into. Like, magic. So anyway, they use that to go to the next place, right? It's just no reason that this movie is happening like it's happening. So they use that to go to the next place. And that next place is basically where they need to go. So they have a detour to fuck. They have a detour to fuck. Now, they chose a very interesting artistic thing to do here. They wanted to show the divide between the youth and the cops, right? It came from nothing. It wasn't earned. It wasn't built, and it didn't make fucking sense. It didn't make sense. They are screaming at cops to let fugitives go that they don't have in detention. But this is just how desperate we are to get this thing to mean something. It doesn't mean anything. So a black cop comes to the kid to show you that the divide between the cops and black men is deeper than just the white people. It's also black cops that's a part of the system, and blah, 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 blah. Write me an essay. And the kid just shoots the cop in the fucking face? Like, what the fuck are we doing here? Why? He shot him in the face because a black man shot a cop? What? What are we? Like, what is our culture? That this is something that we feel will inspire us. This is lunacy. It's ridiculous. It's awful. There's better ways to tell a message. Not this. Anyway. So that's all going on while they're talking about let these fugitives go while they're all somewhere having sex. They get in their car and they go where it's supposed to go. But guess what, y'all? At that point, they out of tension again. Oh, we need tension for this boring ass story. And what happens? The last guy that they need to get them on the plane gives them up for $500,000. Why? Because the black community also is not loyal to our own. We will also betray our own, especially for a little bit of money. Yeah. Duh. Every community will betray somebody over $500,000. I will do it today, Queen and Slim. I will lock your ass up right now for $500,000. Call me a fucking snitch. I don't care. Ostracize me. I don't care. I get to send my fucking kids to private schools. Kidding me? They would have been gave them up. The white couple would have gave them up. But no. We need to talk about what the black men, the greed of the black community is. Write me a fucking essay. So, they try to get some symbolism in their final scene where they have Bonnie and Clyde, the parody. They have them die like Bonnie and Clyde did. But it was weakness. So what they tried to do is, they tricked us. They foreshadowed in the movie that he was more than likely going to die, and she was more than likely going to get pregnant and carry on his quote unquote legacy. So at the end, they do their, they complete some foreshadowing. They were in a car. He said that he wanted ride or die. He wanted this girl by his hand, and they had good memories of him. Blah blah blah. Still talking like a dead man. And abruptly, they do nothing to provoke this. But Queen just. Boom, just gets murdered. She just gets murdered, man. And they do this thing where it was like some white cop lady, and she's like, "Oh no, I don't know what happened."
Oh, it's because of the white woman's systematic belief in the white man's principle and feeling like the white supremacy obligated her to shoot the black woman, as the black woman is the biggest threat to the white. What the fuck?
More bullshit. So they have Slim go to pick up Queen and carry her to the police. Are we this basic of a race? Are we this basic of a demographic that this shit is entertaining? This isn't entertaining. This is patronizing. This is condescending. It's confusing. And it's a fucking mess. The audience got this thing at an 83%. The audience got it at a 93%. The critics gave it at 83%. Goes right back to my theory that there's just some stuff that critics don't fuck with. And one of those things is black productions by black directors. They don't fuck with those. Those are high profile. This director is very high profile. These two actors are British actors. So, hey, it was a soup pot, perfectly, patronized goodness. And they are all giving this thing decent reviews, with it averaging 83%. Of course, I'm with the critics, though. I get this thing about 65, 68, I didn't enjoy it. I didn't enjoy it at all. And maybe you could. Maybe you did. You disagree? Hit me up. Let's talk movies. 216gmail.com. Find me. I welcome you. I welcome you. Next up on the spoiler room is Knives Out. So I won't be talking about Knives Out in that much detail, because while I do call it the spoiler room, there's some stuff that's just really too hard to spoil. I just can't see myself spoiling this for you guys. So with that being said, I will talk about it with some stuff that might be spoilers, but there's major spoilers that I won't give away, because no matter what, for all you guys sneaking and listening to this anyway, it will ruin your experience, and you motherfuckers are stubborn. So Knives Out is incredible whodunit film. This is an incredible movie. Everybody's loving it, as they should. I had my doubts about Knives Out. I talked about it, and contrary to what you may believe, I enjoy being wrong about movies, especially because I'm an optimist. I have a bad feeling about most movies because I feel like most movies are bad. And that's not, the worst thing. Art is like that. You got so many people making art that most of it is going to be bad, because most of it is going to just be too hard to understand, and most of it isn't going to follow a system. Now, this one didn't follow a system, but this script was just too original to fail. That's hard with these type of whodunit mysteries, because they point you in so many directions. So when they start pointing you in all these directions, it's like, okay, this thing has to fall apart. It has to be done. But what they did is they took it a step further. They pointed you in the exact direction. They had you go to that direction. They had you step over slightly to the right, and then had you go in that same direction. And it was great. It wasn't so much grandstanding. It wasn't so many twists. It was just development in the story that kind of felt like a twist, but it kind of wasn't. It was more so reveals. And I really enjoy it. I really have a great appreciation for that. That acting was incredible, but how can you miss? How can you miss with this cast? This cast is insane. I don't do this often, but I really want to just name off this damn cast. You got Daniel Craig, Chris Evans, you got Jamie Lee Curtis, Michael Shannon. Michael Shannon is always incredible. It's insane. You got Don Johnson. You got Toni Collette. I fucking love Toni Collette. You got Khalid Stanfield. This dude has been killing it lately. I love everything that he's in. This dude can read the shit out of a script. You got Jaden Martell. I think he's up and coming for sure. I mean, Catherine Langford. It's kind of insane. All topped off by Christopher Plummer. He is the "and" credit on this movie. It's incredible. They every scene is just great. It's just people who know what the fuck they're doing. And it's great. I really like the twist in there. And there was a newcomer, if I can find her name, Anna de Armas. I've been studying my French. That's why I say it like that. But it is a French name. Anna de Armas. She is incredible. She was given a lot of responsibility. She was acting with titans of acting. And she definitely held her own in all of these scenes. Didn't look overwhelmed. Didn't seem out of place. I will have an eye closely on her for future work. I really enjoyed it. This is coming across like a spoiler-free review, isn't it? Well, the truth is that I'm just not getting into too much story about this. But I because it's just too good. I wouldn't disrespect it like that by giving away the story. And trust me, you will thank me later. I promise you will. What can I tell you? I can tell you a brief summary. The matriarch of the family is murdered, and a private investigator is hired. It suspects this greedy, despicable family, and it's a roller coaster from there. Just looking at this thing, and it's just remembering so much of it. It makes me want to watch it again. Definitely one of my favorite movies, not of this year, but that I've seen in a long time. So the audience got this thing. I'm sorry for this half-ass review. I can't do this. I can't do this one. If you want to talk Knives Out, reach out to me, man. Email me. I don't give a shit. But I'm not. We can talk about it, but not in this format. I have an announcement that I'll be making on Facebook, and then I'll make it again on my next podcast. I am doing Novelties Movie Podcast Black, and it's going to be something special. And that'll be a time where you can talk to me about Knives Out. So with that being said, Knives Out has a 97% with the critics and a 92% with the audience. I'm with the critics on this one. I'd give this thing 100%. I loved every scene. It was nothing that didn't make sense to me. I really liked it. So, I guess nobody really believes in a perfect movie, but trust me, this thing it gets to close as good can get. So I don't know what the audience is being critical of. Maybe it was some acting performances they didn't like. It was only one I could question. That was from, what's her name? The pictures are so different how they look on them, but Catherine Langford, while she's up and coming, I've seen her in a lot of stuff. There were scenes where it's just like, what are you doing here? But I still enjoyed it. I still enjoyed her, and I still enjoyed this movie. Drop everything and see Knives Out. What the hell are you waiting for? And finally, we'll talk The Irishman. So I kind of don't even want to talk about this movie because this movie disrespected me. So I do this for y'all. I was watching this movie and I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to quit because I started watching this with 3 other people. And by the time it was over, it was just me in a dark room. And, because it was just too much of an obligation. It was just flat out too much. So with that being said, The Irishman is not a bad movie. I talked about this before. But I think that they constantly got lost in what they were trying to do. So you got Robert De Niro playing the true character, Frank Sherman, who wrote a book called I Heard You Paint Houses. And that's code for, them using the empty houses where they were basically murder rooms. And they would use these houses to, for their assassinations. And I was hip to this from Goodfellas when they finally off Joe Pesci. And as soon as he seen the empty house, he knew he was getting whacked. And so, yeah, that was his specialty. So this movie is about the clash between the union and the mob, how closely they work together. And they work together really closely. That was educational. I didn't know that. They had Al Pacino as Jimmy Hoffa, and I found this interesting because the feedback that you get on on Al Pacino's performance as Jimmy Hoffa from anybody who is familiar with Jimmy Hoffa, it was like, oh man, he didn't do good at Jimmy Hoffa at all. But what I was watching was Al Pacino. I love Al Pacino. Be Al Pacino. He was in this horrible movie with Adam Sandler, where Adam Sandler was playing a tranny or whatever, and I enjoyed him then. I enjoyed him then. He was just being Al Pacino. So when you grow up with people like this, when you grow up on movies like Scarface and Heat, and it's just these incredible Serpico, these incredible, not Serpico, yeah, Serpico, and movies like that, like Al Pacino is an iconic person to you, Godfather. So with that being said, he kind of survived whatever he could be doing for Jimmy Hoffa, and he kind of excelled at it in the energy he brought to Jimmy Hoffa. That was pretty dope. Joe Pesci was incredible. This is actually the best I've seen Joe Pesci since My Cousin Vinny. Honestly, I like him better in here than I liked him in Goodfellas. To see him play someone who was all powerful, not just the underboss. And I feel like Scorsese felt like he owed him this role. But he was the boss in this one, and he went out like the boss. And it was just incredible to see Joe Pesci get to do some different range. We all know the story about this movie. Joe Pesci had to be convinced to do this movie. And I just think that Scorsese really wanted to give him an all-powerful role, and that's what happened here. So the story is about, Frank Sheeran choosing to be loyal to Joe Pesci's character, Russell Buffalino. And it worked out for him, because if he didn't, it would have been over. He always respected Russell's power. But the thing about Frank is people respected he was just a real dude. People respected it. And when the mob sees that in you, and you're a henchman, you're good. You're good. If you notice, not a lot of henchmen is murdered when it comes down to the mob stuff. If you notice, it's mostly the people. It's mostly the power players. It's mostly the people making decisions. Most of the people who send the henchmen are the ones who are getting murdered. So with that being said, Robert De Niro was a henchman. I think that they did a good job showing us why he was so comfortable with killing. He did come from the military, where he was murdering people, by orders. I wanted to say for the fun of it, because it seemed like that, but he was ordered to do these things. And with that being said, they did establish that, but he turned into a killer fast as hell. So they saw the potential in him really, really fast. So that kept him protected, no matter who he crossed. Russell, Joe Pesci's character, was crazy about the dude. But with that being said, as the movie progressed, and even with narration, they just couldn't maintain themselves. They couldn't stay cohesive with the story they were trying to tell. So they went all over the place, from Jimmy Hoffa's brushes up with the mob to Jimmy Hoffa's brushes with the president, with the Kennedys. They went into so much. That you couldn't really understand it if you weren't a part of that time. So I can't imagine anybody who was born in that time not liking this movie, because it ties so many things together for them. Fact or fiction. It ties so much together for them. But if you're looking at this with fresh eyes, it's like, what is this for? Because nothing is concrete in this movie. You can't take a concrete message from anything from this movie. So this feels like a movie that Scorsese felt like he owed. I think he felt like he owed it to the time. I think he owes it to this he felt he owed it to this generation, to really show the stakes and how corporate the mob world can get. And I think he felt like he owed this movie to Joe Pesci. I guess he owed this movie to Al Pacino and Robert De Niro. We've seen them interact in Heat, but they don't really interact. Heat does it in a much more intense way, where it's just one scene where these two titans of acting is acting. In The Godfather 2, they didn't get to act together. And we finally saw these titans facing off, and you just see the most intense acting scene that you have seen on cinema with these just two incredible actors. So we finally get to see them actually play off each other, actually riff off each other. The chemistry jumps off the screen. You can tell they're actually friends. You can tell they actually get along. And you can tell that they are just both transcendent actors. These reasons that I'm naming off is just a reason why nobody is going to say this is a bad movie. They just can't say that it's a bad movie because it's just too much talent, expertise, and honestly, just legendary touch to this movie. And shout out to Netflix for spending the money. Netflix doesn't have any money. They work in debt.
but they spend that shit, man, and and it keeps us talking about them. And they're not stopping. They got a Michael Bay movie coming out Friday. They're not stopping. Ryan Reynolds. So you know, overall, this is good for the movie industry. It's great for the movie industry. Great for Scorsese. Great for everybody involved. I just don't think. I think this is the wrong script. I think this is the wrong story. I think they just picked the wrong story. But at the same time, you know, if you like this type of stuff, some people just like mob stuff. I got people saying I liked it because it was mob stuff. If you like, you know, just these actors, you know, you'll find value in that. But you know, it's not a cohesive story. I can tell you that much. So with that being said, hey, am I completely wrong about The Irishman? I could be completely wrong. You know where to find me. Let's Talk Movies 216@gmail.com. Find me on Facebook. Find me wherever Terrell But Loud is present. And I will talk some movies with you. It's my favorite thing to do. If you want a novelty movies t-shirt, I'm working on other merchandise and I'm working on selling it. But if you want it, if you want to feel exclusive, if you want to show the world you support one of the only movie trend podcasts, it's probably the only one, movie trend podcast on the planet, stay tuned. I'm going to give you the chance. All right, y'all. It's time to start this weekend. Let's do it.